So basically, after the music, we start talking.
She got you jumping up the deck, staring into overdrive. Highway to the danger zone. I'll take you right into the danger zone. You never say hello to you until you get it on the red line overload. You never know, but you can.
Welcome, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram listeners to Mavsign's 5th Fraudcast. It is October 3rd, 2025. Join with me are Thanio, our co-founder of Mavsign, and my partner in, not my partner in crime, in fighting crime, and our special guest, Stephanie Cooper, a national account executive for IA. And for those of you that don't know her from her IA, she's been in the F&I industry for quite some period of time. How long is that again, Stephanie?
17 years now.
Okay, so she got in the business when she was 15, so it's okay. And then she's also a featured speaker at FECon and lots of different events. So honored to have Stephanie on here. Okay, so contrary to my theme song when we entered this, we are not talking about the danger zone of fraud, because I figure by now, this is our 5th broadcast, everybody's been scared into making sure that you do a quality ID verification process and that we're doing all the right things to protect our dealer and their assets, to prevent fraud with the tools that are available, whether it be from Mavsign or not. So we're going to fast forward to, okay, we've done the necessary steps. We haven't the verifications. We know that the person is who they say they are. And then now let's talk about how we can make more F&I profit. Looks like Stephanie's rejoining. There she is. Now let's talk about how we actually make money, because the thing that I've heard from industry experts like Stephanie and her peers is, well, you know, Rudy, the F&I people don't like to do it for different reasons, and they don't like offsites. And so I've been in the industry a bit, and Thane and Stephanie have been, and we can give our reasons. But Stephanie, give me the high level of like, what's the feedback when you get when your F&I managers come to you with like, I don't want these offsite deals. Can you get them taken out of my numbers? Like, what do you have there? And let's unmute you.
There we go. Better? Okay.
Yeah.
The technology, you know. So one of the main objections that the finance manager is going to have is this takes time away from a retail customer. They feel they have more opportunity with a retail customer. So this is an offsite delivery may take time away from that and not be able to give them a quality presentation. Another one is, the compliance risk. When you're doing something offsite, we have an obligation to verify identity, make sure we're clearing OFAC, make sure all of the data is in line and the information is accurate. So that causes a couple of extra steps with an offsite delivery. And then the biggest one is money, right? We're all here to make income, and our job is to make profit. So the biggest objection that we're going to get is there's no opportunity for finance to, make profit on these deals, and that's going to lead to lowering their overall numbers.
Right. Then that's consistent. That's consistent with what Thane and I have heard. So I think we've gotten to the point now where they've been less resistant to the fact that you actually have to do them. I feel like where the industry has gotten, because if you look at Carvana stock reports, I mean, I think their last report, they reported 138 million in income just based off of DSC and GAAP, right? So obviously all they do is sell offsite, and they've figured out a way to sell product on deals. So let's talk a little bit about, in your mind, what's the opportunity if we got past the first two things and we made it easy to prevent fraud, and we made it to where you could have just as much opportunity on an offsite deal as you were selling in dealership, right? What would that mean to the dealership? So I'm going to throw some numbers at you, and I want you to just call BS on me if I'm off, because when I did this, I was just playing with the math, and it was like, oh, well, that's actually a lot more money than I thought. So but like, if you look at the baseline assumptions, and I think we're pulling something up on screen in just a sec. If you look at my baseline assumptions, the average NADA PVR that I saw is $1,800. It's like rounded up to $1,800. But the difference is when you and I were talking, the average products per deal is roughly 1.5. I'm talking real F&I products, not stuff that was packaged on the front and included with the car. And so the average regular NADA is 1.5 products per deal, average PBR of 1,800. On the offsites, we're only averaging like a half a product per deal, which kind of almost happens by accident. Somebody raises their hand and says, hey, I want a service contract, or I want a gap with the payment, something like that. And so does that sound about right today?
I would say that's fair, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously every dealer is going to be different. We were talking about different OEMs and different brands. And then we hear estimates all over the map. Some dealers say they do 10% of their deals offsite. We hear some say they do 50% of them offsite. We see the numbers on Carvana and some of the other folks like that. So, you know, the 80-20 rule is typically what we kind of gravitate towards. About 20% of your deals are happening offsite. You know, that includes the deals as well, and 80% is your traditional on-site. Does that sound? Is that a fair assessment? Just for the sake of this.
Yeah, for this discussion and looking at, you know, just the law of numbers, sure, we can use an 80-20 rule.
Okay, so do you think the reason there's 1.5 products per deal in dealership and a half product per deal offsite is what do you think is causing that? Is it, I mean, and I think what we discussed was they're just not getting a quality presentation.
Most of the time, yes. Sometimes it's the consumer doesn't want to deal with a salesperson or a finance manager, so they prefer to buy that way. That's fine. But most of the time, it's, you know, the mindset of the finance managers that's doing the delivery.
Okay. So I took a couple of stabs at this, and I just want you to pressure test this. So let's say we covered half of the gap, right? And I modeled it. Is it a fair statement to say if we just try to give a quality presentation to every customer that's buying remotely, like that we could get at least another half product a deal?
I would say that's fair. On average, 0.25 to a half. Yeah, you're certainly just by taking the shot, you're going to get something.
Okay. And then if we got really good at it and we actually had the salespeople upstream teeing it up, because I understand you got to get the salespeople wrangled into this process, but just we'll talk about kind of step one, step two. I ran some math, and here's what that could look like for a dealership selling 250 cars a month. I think I have another page popping up right here. I'll wait for it. Okay. So what I ran was I said, okay, if we sold a full product per deal versus a half product per deal at a 250 car a month store over 12 months, essentially what the math worked out to was, because you're bringing up the rear like that, you've got such a low offsite deal average. If you just go sell a half product per deal, you're bumping that average up to like $1,200-$1,300, and that brings your overall dealership PBR up $100. So I didn't really do the math in that way before when I've talked about Mavsign, but that seems like a really nice bump of making $100 more per car deal overall just by giving a quality attempt on all your deals, not just the deals you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and so then, I mean, I think that's a reasonable step one for anybody on this call, and we'll talk about some objection handling in a minute that we can talk through to get the consumer engaged in that. And then I would offer a phase two would be, okay, now we get the actual sales team who's selling these cars off-site, getting them on board with the remote process and getting them excited about it and teeing it up just as well as they would before they go in the finance office in dealership. And so, the economics of getting to a full product per deal increase, going from a half to 1.5, which is NADA average, would be an increase of overall $200 a car in this model for a dealership selling 250 cars, averaging 20% offsites. That's over $500,000 a year that just you get out of thin air, plus all the benefits of the products that you're selling. So, I know I'm doing really simple math. I did go to LSU, so I have to do those things. How does that sound? Does that sound reasonable to your effort, to your dealerships when you're talking to them? Like, hey, we don't have it. We don't need a gimmick. We don't need a new fancy clothes. Like, we got plenty of those too. We don't need more products. We can execute with what we already have with the right solutions and go make more money today just by putting the effort in.
Yes, absolutely. And we have the technology to do that nowadays. So
great. Well, so that's a lot of money. I think that's enough for us to have a discussion and see how we can go get that money. Would you all agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Thane, you've been doing this You also got in the business when you were 15. You've been doing this longer than us, though. So I want to give you and Stephanie a chance to role play here. So you're the consumer, right? And they kind of founded the company at Maverick dealing with like how do we connect the dealer with the consumer in a time where it was not happening, right? It was like, well, talk to the hand, wait for the FedEx guy. So they put your consumer hat on. Like, what are the things that consumers are going to say to the F&I manager that it kind of derail the process and get them off their game? And let's Stephanie's got some really good ideas on how to get them back. And again, I always say, like, hey, this is my F&I office, whether it's in front of a desk or on the screen, like this is still your F&I office. So I just want to hear how that interaction would go. So talk to me about like what you're going to say, what you would say as a consumer.
I think just as a consumer, I don't know, Steph, you tell me. I would think that first, since I'm not in the office, I would feel more comfortable if I had a visual of who I'm speaking to, rather than just being on a phone call or something like that.
Agreed.
I would say I don't have time for things like this. How much time is this going to take? And then I would really need the F&I person to draw me in and tell me why I would need to spend the extra time with them. So that's my thoughts on it. You go ahead and tell me what you would do on your end to get me, I guess, involved in the conversation, and how it would be better. How would it be better than a phone call?
Well, first things first, it starts with the salespeople, right? So the the introduction to the customer and the TO has to come from the salesperson or the sales manager, whoever has made that contact
Right.
and has the best relationship, because that's going to transfer trust from them to me. They're going to introduce me as a business manager that's going to verify information and review some figures.
Perfect.
And then what I want to know first and foremost is what is the most convenient way to communicate with that customer? Some people prefer over the phone. Some people prefer text message. Some people have jobs where they can't talk. Maybe they have to email. Whatever the preferred method of communication is for that customer is where I want to
Mhm.
focus.
Gotcha.
And then I need to revamp my process to, readjust myself to meet their expectations. So if that customer, I'm all about a video call. The first step in the process, and once I've met the customer, is I want to speak to that customer. Hey, hey Thane, I just want to double check. We're gonna send you a link. We have to verify your identity because you're not inside the dealership today. I just have to make sure you are who you are. We have a lot of AI technology that's being introduced, so we have to be incredibly diligent in making
Hmm.
sure that we verify the identity of that
Love it.
person.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of training courses out there. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of them that can teach you how to read through body language and AI and recognize AI video versus, an actual person. But Thane, it's my responsibility to protect your identity as a consumer. So I want to make sure we do that. I'm going to send you a link. And for all of you on the call, Mavsign has an amazing fraud check. So if Weston, if you can pull that up. So what this does is sends the customer a link. The customer is going to go in to a video chat. Rudy, you want to explain that a little bit more? You're more familiar with that than me.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the identity verification software. I joke you could shoot a cannon down the hall at NADA and probably kill 50 vendors that say they do ID verifications. We like to talk about where ours is better, but regardless whether you're using NetSign or not, like you'd be nuts not to do some kind of identity verification with biometrics if somebody's not been to the dealership. So but you do need to tell the consumer where the ball is bouncing. Like, hey, you're gonna get, like you said, you're gonna get a link, opt into text messaging. This is what's going to happen. Here's why it's good for your protection, for my protection, for the lender's protection, blah, blah, blah. But then I would gamify it, right? Like say, hey, great. Once that's complete, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to get an invite from me to a quick video conference to review all your options. And then from there, they want to pass, right? Because they want to buy the car. Or if they're a crook, they bounce. But that's actually probably not a bad thing either.
Well, and it's critical here with the approach is kind of critical there because I don't necessarily want to get into any discussion of options yet. I need to connect with that customer first. I need to ask some questions. I need to make sure that I have all the information I need that's critical to making sure their delivery is, a great experience. So once they've, communicated, once we've introduced each other, then I'm going to probably review. I'm obviously going to review numbers, right? I want to know that wherever they agreed to on that car with that salesperson and where they left off is where I'm picking up. So I'm going to probably, Weston, if you can pull up that sheet for me, so I would usually connect to them electronically. Darwin has a lot of tools that are electronically capable. All of your menu systems can connect remotely. They can connect to multiple people. So even if I don't have both buyers in the same place, I can connect to them even if they're in different places. I like one of the features with Darwin. I also share whatever I'm sharing online with the customer to my desktop, and then I can see exactly what they're doing. So it kind of mirrors their, visual. Uh, there's also a lot of tools inside of these, menu systems that you can dive into deeper visuals. You can create interaction with the customer to where they're touching and they're, interacting physically with the menu tools. What I like about this payment option menu from Darwin is that on the right-hand side are all the details. So when I have an off-site customer, if I just pull up one sheet, I've got all the information I need. All of their details are on, the left side of their screen or the right side of their screen. And then as soon as I review all of that information, they confirm it, I'm going to go straight into product presentation. Okay,
Good.
Mr. Customer, now that you've made that decision, I want to make sure that you've made an educated decision on what can protect your vehicle, and then we go through it. Then I'm going to close them on, ask the closing question on which payment they prefer, handle some objections, and then we're going to jump into paperwork. But at
Yeah.
this point, I need to make sure time expectancies are set. So if that
Okay.
customer only has 5 minutes, I need to know that ahead of time. Mr. Customer, this is going to take about 10 to 15 minutes. Do you have that much time, or should we schedule? I have to be considerate of that. So, and then when I hit that 15-minute mark, just like in the dealership, I have to reset the clock. I have to jump back in and go, okay, let's take a pause here because we're at that 15 minutes. This is going to take about another whatever. Do you have time to go ahead and finalize the paperwork? We can have all this complete now, and then we'll set your delivery up for you.
So Stephanie, I wanted to take a quick time out. So just going back to, you said something about Darwin. So you're not emailing him this. You're actually like in your virtual F&I office on video with them, sharing the screen, annotating. I mean, I guess some dealers would want it recorded or not. That's their decision. But it's live. It's not like, hey, I'll email it to you and then talk to you about it. It's like you've got it on the screen. You're doing your thing. How is that any different to what happens in the F&I office? I mean, it seems pretty similar.
It's incredibly similar. I wouldn't print out a menu in the F&I office. I would hand them a tablet. Impact has the Impact Group has a menu, has the same functionality. 99% of all of your tools are going to have these functionalities now. And you can connect to multiple people, which is what I really like. I travel for work, so I'm not always, at home to be able to make a joint decision. And they can connect to me. If someone's in the office and someone's, if you've got a split delivery and someone's not able to show up in person, you can do the same thing. You can have one in person and one off-site. It's the capabilities are endless.
Gotcha. So then, like from that perspective, like on the fly, any sales tools you have, anything videos you wanted to share, like you could do all that in the discussion. Okay. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's great. That's great. I think that's a great process.
And it's all signed electronically right there and done, and we move forward.
Stephanie, I'm sorry, Rudy. Stephanie, as a national trainer, and I know you train the whole U.S., as I've seen you do it. What do you think about a recording process, if that was available to get the best in the store for training purposes?
Ask me that again. In recording, like
if you can
delivery?
record the finance process through a video chat of your best F&I people for training purposes, how do you think that would enhance the dealership's performance?
I think it enhances it remarkably. We actually do that at our AWG F&I schools. Tony D and his team does an actual live training on how to connect remotely and how to present remotely, and it's pretty remarkable. So
good. Okay.
Great.
Yeah, we offer that at our F&I schools. So
Stephanie, I think there's actually some companies out there that are trying to create some products that, but essentially. Something everybody needs to know. All the video technologies out there, the one we use in our platform, Zoom, Google, whatever you're using, you can do recording, you can do transcriptions of the recording, and then the interesting part now in the advent of AI is you can take those transcriptions and then train them into, provided you've done all your protections and compliance, you could then train them into models in GPT or Grok or whatever, and then create predictive models of recommended not done, or you could score your F&I people. Like, there's lots of cool things you could do if you had that. All I would say about recording is, like, I would get with your legal counsel and your state office to make sure that there's nothing wrong there. I don't want to advocate for anything that's outside of the bounds of whatever the laws are in that state. So anyways, I think it's a great idea.
One of the best things that you can do with a recording is the finance manager's their own worst critic, right? So if I'm going to record myself and then I go back and watch it, I'm going to pick out things on my own. I'm not going to need somebody to tell me what I did. I'm going to already know.
That's a good point.
And I'm going to pick up things like fluff words. I'm going to pick up breaks in, behavior patterns. I'm going to watch my own body language. I want to watch my own, interaction with that customer. What's my tone? What's my voice inflection? So there's great ways that you can self-critique by watching recordings. And IA has a great program called Smart Eye, where we record deliveries, and it's an added layer of compliance. So if a customer comes back and says they weren't presented something, you can pull the video, right? Roll the tape.
Yeah,
so Stephanie, what's your fluff word?
I don't have one anymore. It used to be and, but I caught myself. I would speak and then and I don't do it anymore. So I've caught myself once in a great while, but no, it's a great self-critique tool.
I have a few of my own. I use the word "so" as like a transitional word. That's just like but it's just, I think I got to get better. Okay, so we talked in the beginning about, like, there's $100 to $200 PVR opportunity. If we just focused more on that minority of deals and actually gave them a quality presentation, picking up between a half and a half product to a full product per deal, we can really materially improve, whether it's NADA averages or your dealership's averages. You can make a material improvement that's, little effort for high gain, right? And then we talked about overcoming some of the objections and just how to introduce that process. Like, instead of saying, hey, you want a warranty, you actually, get them engaged in the technology process, gamify it, make it fun, make it comfortable, right? And then from there, I assume, the rest of the process still applies. It sounds like you either e-contract or wet contract, depending on the deal scenario. And then if it's offsite, you're arranging for a signing agent. But, I'm also wondering if you have this kind of process, tell me about chargebacks and cancellations. Would those be higher or lower if you decided to kind of make this move?
I don't think you would see much change. I mean, chargebacks happen for all different reasons, but if you're giving the customer a quality presentation and you're giving them all the information that they need, and then you're giving them the option to choose what works best for them, the rule of thumb is A-type customers are 10%. 10% of people are going to say yes if you just ask. If you just ask, they're going to say yes. I book things online all the time. True. I booked a rental car online once, went to Florida. I was going to the Keys. I didn't take any of the extras when I booked it online. I got to the rental counter. The gentleman, which I tried to hire, by the way, the gentleman walked me right through his process. And he was like, hey, you're here on vacation. Where are you going? What are you doing? And I was like, we're going to the Keys. We're swim with the dolphins. And he was like, oh, well, I noticed you didn't take advantage of the toll pass. You might want to consider that. I'd hate to have a bad experience and you get back from your vacation. And I was just like, can you come work for me? Like, he was so process oriented. It was beautiful. But I took advantage, having spoken to a real person that explained what I needed and gave me a fit for that need. There were 3 things that he offered me that I didn't feel need in, and that's going to happen with all of our customers. But how many of these customers were never presented before? Right? All of the 3 and 4 and 5 vehicles that they've bought, but maybe they were just never given the 5 minutes of a presentation, and they may purchase tire and wheel coverage. They may purchase a key coverage, because every purchase is different than the one before. Every experience a customer has coming into a car purchase is different than the purchase before. They're all different. So, and when we've got an industry with some lower units right now, this is a great way to pick up a low-hanging fruit. Just put a little more effort into an off-site delivery. Just be kind. That customer deserves the same respect that you give the one that's sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to process. right? It's all
Yeah.
process. Everything is in the process. You can't have a contractor try to build a house and put the roof on before the walls. That's not going to work. So you've got to follow that process. If you follow a consistent process, your success rate will go up. Now, is it always going to be easy? No. Is it going to bank you a bunch of money or close a bunch more deals? No. But if you give it the same effort, you will see an increase for sure.
Right. And you got to do it anyway.
Consistency.
So,
To responsibility to the customer and the dealership. So yes.
so Stephanie, okay, so we've established like, okay, yes, we got to prevent fraud, and we have an opportunity to make money and still have a good consumer experience, like three legs of the stool. So so it's not happening effectively today in the aggregate, right? And we're trying to just talk about how we can do that as an industry. If you had to wave your magic wand, like what would you say or do to enable that, to make that easier? How would you, what would you, if there's something I could go change for you or fix for you to go make that easier for all your dealers to execute on this, what would you say that is?
Well, and that's definitely one of their objections too, is the efficiency and the speed and the time of the process. I would want everything in one system. And I think you guys have something similar to that, correct?
Yeah, we do. I mean, there's definitely a lot of places with integrated tools. I know we do that, and we have a very unique use case in how we do things offsite. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I think the less logins you have, and the less, when you're sharing screens and you're working digitally, having to go jump and toggle and which screen
Yes.
is that and share. Like I'm on dual monitors right now, so it's a little easier when you have dual monitors, but that's not always the case, right? So yeah, I agree. I think getting to less systems is better. And right now we're jumping around a lot. So good feedback. And so, okay, at this point in the process, we're running short on time, and I did want to give the audience a chance to ask any questions that popped up. I haven't seen any come forward yet, but if our team has any that are popping up, would love to answer any questions for Stephanie.
I've got a question for Stephanie, Rudy. Stephanie, you brought up the fact that it's a responsibility to the dealership, but also a responsibility to the customer. That was great. I think that we don't hear that enough. And if you could elaborate how the F&I department is responsible to the customer, that'd be great.
Well, as a service, as a business manager, we provide a service. I don't see my position as a sales position. I see it as providing the customer service. I'm
Sure.
offering them options to protect their investment. I'm offering
Right.
them ways to reduce their, end result of a bill after a lease. I'm offering them ways to protect their investment and, provide better financial
That's
security.
great.
And a vehicle that's going to come back with a higher resale value, right? A big customer's biggest complaint is the trade value. So when they come back, I want that vehicle to be in the best shape possible. In order to do that and keep their, out-of-pocket expense to a minimum, I want to transfer their risk. When you own a vehicle, you take
Fantastic.
risk, and I want to
Yep.
transfer that risk so that they have a better overall experience. That
Yep.
in the long term and in a big picture is going to bring them back to me. And when they come back, they're going to be in a better position, and we're going to be able to have a better experience each time we move forward.
That's such a wise. That was awesome.
Thanks, Thane. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, so I saw a question come in from Sam Kerman. What is the cost? I'm not sure what cost he's asking for. Obviously, just doing a video presentation, I guess you'd need to have whatever video tool you use and whatever menu you use should be able to render. I mean, unless
a webcam.
you need a webcam. You need to probably recommend a good mic. I've got a little, I don't know if you can see it, I've got like a little Jabra hockey puck speak that I can use that moves around, but you can have your own little webcam set up. And then, as far as like doing ID checks and all that stuff, I mean, the average remote ID check, if you're doing a full ID scan, could be anywhere, anywhere between $15 and $60, depending on what you're doing. And then, but that could be done with lots of different vendors. There's really not a whole lot to this. I mean, Maverick is just part of our platform. So, Sam, I don't think there's really a big cost incurred once you're already with whatever platform you're using. Like if you're doing it through your DMS or doing it through your digital, through Darwin has their own tool. It shouldn't have to be something expensive to go do. So I would also say that there are some companies out there that will take on the offsite closing for you. Like I think I've seen Assurant has some, J&A has some, and there's some that will do it for you, and they have their own technology stack. So I don't think there's really a cost. It's more just a decision to use the tools you already have. So that's the insight we're trying to drive. So thank you, Sam. Any others?
I think the answer for Sam would be more, how much would the cost is what the dealerships are losing. I'm not using a platform with a video call, with the fraud protection unit and an F&I presentation.
Sure. Yeah, well, the cost of getting defrauded is a lot of money. So 50 grand gone, 100 grand gone. But yeah, I mean, increasing 100, 200 PVR just by, giving a good quality presentation. Yeah, your opportunity cost by not doing it is, could be over $500,000 a year for a normal size store.
Right. But check your current systems. 90% of the current systems will have some sort of integration where you can remotely connect with the customer. I don't recommend you use FaceTime on your personal phone.
No, all of them are.
Some people think it's not a good idea. No, get a webcam. We have Teams, we have Google Meet, we have, there's 18 platforms that you guys can jump on. But usually your systems that you already have, it's already integrated. So I would start there, because you may not have to incur an additional expense except for maybe a $30 webcam. No big deal.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, and if anybody listening is a Maverick customer, please reach out to us. We'll show you how to use our video as well. It's a piece of cake. So.
Yes, and if you're not a Maverick customer, reach out anyway, because then they'll still show you how to use it.
That's right. That's right. Reach out anyway.
We get you to meet
reach out anyway.
Okay, so we're at time. I was gonna, unless we have any other comments, I think I'll close this out and let everybody get back to closing out their Friday. I hope everybody had a great close of the month this week. Big quarter, got our last quarter of the year coming up, and so I would just challenge everybody between now and the end of the year, go do this, and then what can that do to your year? Even in a quarter, I mean, you might catch 150K or something like that for your store just in a quarter. Go get it now and make your year strong. That would be my challenge to everybody in the audience. So with that, I'll close it out. Thank you, Thane. Thank you very much, Stephanie Cooper. Everybody will have Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And,
anyone needs anything, and reach out to Stephanie. She is one of the best in the country, so you won't find anything better.
Thank you. Thank you, Thane. I appreciate you. And thank you, Rudy, for the time. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you all. And as I like to close it out, I always say, be a Maverick. Y'all have a good one.
Be a Maverick. Have a great weekend.
Have a good Friday.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Good weekend.